Welcome back to the Seattle Sports Show where we love Seattle Pro Sports. I'm your host, Mikey, and we're going to bring you another Seattle Seahawks 7-round mock draft. I just finished listening to the John Schneider show today on 710 ESPN with Bob and Wyman, and he mentioned a couple things about the draft in there. One being that that they don't want to draft for need at the top of the draft. At the top of the draft, they are trying to get the best player, regardless of position, based on their grade. Now, when they get to the 6th and 7th round, that's when they say, hey, after we've gotten all the players that we feel are the best that we could have gotten at those positions, if we still haven't filled a need, then we will address those in the later rounds. Now, that doesn't mean that a player that is a position of need won't have a high grade. They do weight their grades based on need as well. So it's not, the need of the position does factor into the grade that they give players. So, I can imagine that basically would mean, like, if they have players, like, say 3 different players, different positions, like one's a wide receiver, one is a corner, and one is an offensive lineman, and they gave them all the same grade, I would think that would mean with their grading system and adding a higher grade for position of need, then if all 3 of those players are available and they wanted to take one, then they'd at that point probably take the offensive lineman, because that would be a need. So that player would probably end up a little bit higher score in their grading system. That's how I interpreted what he had to say. But yeah, so that's a little bit more what we know about what their draft strategy is this year and going forward, and how, they don't want to be in a situation where they got themselves in for a couple of years where they were drafting at the top of the draft for need, and how they got in trouble doing that, and they don't want to do that again. So now they want to make sure, they just get the best graded players throughout the beginning of the draft. So we'll kind of keep those things in mind a little bit as we do this next simulation. But I do have something in mind that I want to try in this simulation. Again, remember, I think this is going to be mock draft 18. And they've all been different. And if it works out in this particular simulation, what I want to try, then it will definitely be different than anything we've done before, and I don't know if that means it will be good. It might end up being horrible, but I want to try something because there's 2 players that I really like that have been based off of more coaches, scouts watching their tape. Like, they were already doing very well for themselves in season. Now they've gone back and watched the tape. They've come in and they've done their, all their testing at the combine and whatnot. So there's players that have been, a couple players that I'm trying to focus on in this particular simulation that, have been moving up even more than they already were. And it'd be interesting to see if you could land both of them. So I'm going to enter this simulation and see if it works out. We are at pick 16. Am I going to hold? Yes, I am going to stick with pick number 16 and try this out and see how this plays out. Okay, so there's actually 2 great tackles here that I want to try. But we have Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff. They have worked with the Washington offensive lineman, right? So they know how good Troy Fautanu is. They know that he can play tackle. They know he can play guard. They are the ones who trained and developed him in college the last couple of years, and they know that he can play any position on the line. So we're going to go into this with that in mind, where they say, oh well, if Fatanu is available to us and if we don't feel comfortable trading back and him still being available, we're going to take him if he's there. So we're taking him right at this spot, which means our next pick isn't going to be until 81. And again, I don't know if the other player I'm going to want is going to be available, but we will see. Again, I'm going to reject, and he is. So again, I don't know how this is going to play out, but so again, Ryan Grubb, Scott Huff, they have been very successful the last 2 years at Washington. Grubb just being the offensive coordinator, Huff being the offensive line coach. And I would think they would know best how to improve this offensive line that has been lackluster, right? And they know who they've trained to be really good. They know themselves that they have had one of the best offensive lines in all of college football. So they might want to bring a couple of those players in. Fatanu, again, you love that he can play tackle and play guard. And that he's been trained to play all the positions across the line. So they know that he's flexible and he can play wherever they need him to play, and probably can start at whatever position they want him to start at. That helps the team most. Now, the same thing is going to be said for Roger Rosengarden, a guy that is just shooting up everybody's draft board. Today, I don't know if you listened to Mel Kiper, but today Mel Kiper jumped Roger Rosengarden all the way up to the 31st round, put him as the 31st. I mean, in the first round, put him as the 31st overall pick. I don't know if he's going that high. I know he's been jumping up the boards, throughout this draft process. But it'd be very interesting to see if, this coaching staff, because look at what they're doing on defense. They have been filling up everything they need to fill up on defense, and then offense, they've basically been sticking with what they got. They're almost saying everything here we have is already good, except for that offensive line. They've been signing a ton of people to come in and compete, and nothing really sure there. So they get Fatanu. If they get Rosengarten here, then they have potentially two guys that can come in and be guys that can play tackle or guard. Both of them can play all positions across the offensive line, but both have play tackle, so both athletic enough to play tackle, but powerful enough to play guard if that's where they need him to be. And because these two players again have this experience with the coaching staff already on the offensive coaching staff, they are going to probably feel comfortable. They're going to be familiar with what is going to run, so the communication is already going to be there for them. And like I said, they would probably be able to trust the coaching staff that whether they decide to have them stay at tackle or move them to guard, they're going to trust this coaching staff to make the right decision and put them in the best position to help the team be the best it can. So here we go. Troy Fatanu and Roger Rosengarten out of Washington as our first two picks. Let's see here. Now we got to make some moves. Like, this is what makes it kind of tough, right? Now I have to figure out, well, we still have other needs. And yeah, I have a trade offer, but based off of linebacker still being a need for us, and not addressing it in the first 3 rounds here because we only had pick 16, and then our next pick was until 81. So our next pick isn't until the 4th round. I don't want to trade back because I don't want to miss out on somebody like a Tyron Hopper. And again, there's a couple safeties here available that I like. But if the Seahawks have a grade again similar to them, but they look at need, they might have a little bit higher grade at linebacker still in my eyes. Be a little bit more heavily weighted on a linebacker position. So I'm going to take Tyron Hopper here. Our next pick is at 118. So I'm thinking there's still going to be some decent safeties available that I like in this range. And there is. Now, luckily for us, Kalen Bullock has fallen here. So I'm going to take Kalen Bullock, safety out of USC. And I can get some more depth across that safety line. Next pick's at 179 here. And let's see what is going to come available for us. Again, linebacker, Maris Liufau. I'm going to take him here. We still need to address that. It is still a need, and it just so happens, he is there, and I have a higher grade on him than these other players myself. So that's where I'm gonna go. And then, like you said, like these last couple of rounds here, let's take a look and see if we want to fill just for need, or if there's some players that we can take that fill a role. Somebody like we missed out on like receiving, like true like receiver tight ends that I kind of like in that range before now. But we do still have AJ Barner here. Again, to me, very solid blocking tight end, while also being, again, he is a very intelligent tight end. Even though he is maybe not the most athletic, especially not in this draft, but he will find the soft spots and zones and get himself open and make himself a big target. All right, so we'll take AJ Barner here at 192, and then coming in here at pick 235. 235, and again for me, Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA. He is so athletic. He's just somebody that I kind of look at what he has ability wise. You get somebody, again, get him in the Mike McDonald system, get him to learn from somebody like McDonald and his defensive coaching staff. Maybe really unlock all the potential this guy has, because I mean, go look at all of his height, his weight for an edge player. It's all there. Go look at all of his athletic testing. It's off the charts. So you can get him in with a coaching staff that can refine all that. Then you could be talking about potentially like a steal of a player this late in the draft. Okay, so there you go, and that's all our picks. We didn't make any trades in this one, so very different from what we've done in the last few, where we were, trying to trade out of the first round. This one, I wanted to see what would happen if I could go after Fatanu, because he would be like a highly rated player that they would have, I would think, especially with the coaching staff being so familiar with him. So you can't trade back off of that, because Fatanu he's going to end up going right around that range where we're picking, if not even sooner. So you got to stick there and to make that pick. And then, so because you don't make that trade, then your next pick isn't until 81. But again, Roger Rosengarden, he was somebody who was kind of like seen around that like 3 to 5 round pick range. Now he's just, like I said, been moving up and moving up. People are saying, oh, maybe he even's going to be second now. And now you got Mel Kiper today, or in his most recent mock, saying that he's got him as he picked him at the 31st pick overall. So if you can get two great offensive linemen like that, both out of the same system, both performed really well, one of the top offensive line in college, and already familiar with the coaching staff that's on your team, it sounds like match made in heaven, right? So again, that made it a little bit more tough to go after what we other positions of need, but Tyron Hopper was still there, so we were able to get that linebacker. Kalen Bullock was a safety that we like, who fell a little bit to us in this simulation, so we were able to take him. So I think that kind of worked out for us. And then Maris Liufau, another linebacker, again out of Notre Dame, another guy that to me, you go watch those Notre Dame games, and watching him in the middle of that defense and the way he flies around is pretty fun to watch. And again, if you can get somebody like him in a system, Mike McDonald's system, in that coaching staff, maybe they can refine him. AJ Barner, again, just a solid guy for tight end depth, and Gabriel Murphy, again, defensive line depth, and hopefully another player that you hope that they can refine all that insane athletic ability that he has, that I've always liked in him. Okay, so there you go. There is that mock. Very different, no trades, straight up picks. And so let me know how you feel that would work out if the Seahawks ended up making no trades and just stuck with all their picks and went with this strategy. All right, so give me those grades, A, B, C, D, F. Let me know what you would have done different if you were similar situation. So again, like my strategy for this one was, I was purposely going for Fatanu and Rosengarden at both of those picks. I would not be able to trade back and get them, so stuck there. But so throughout the rest of those, and first, let me know, would you be happy if the Seahawks did something like that to get those two players? And then throughout the rest of the draft, let me know what you thought of how I did the rest of the draft. Like, do you feel like I did an okay job addressing the other things after making sure I got those two players that I really wanted? All right, so let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, please subscribe. My goodness, you guys have really been liking these mock draft videos. I mean, they've all been getting over 1,000 views. The one that was just yesterday, it's already got over 1,500 views. So I know there's a ton of you watching. I started this channel a couple of years ago, and then I just only randomly did a video here and there, or did a video game video here and there, and then I've been using this channel to like upload all the different podcasts that I do now onto this channel. And these mock drafts have just been hitting like crazy. Like I said, getting over 1,000 views. So that means a ton of you are watching. And I love that I hit 100 subscribers on the channel now, and I'm over 100 subscribers now. But with those kind of numbers, I want to see even more of you hit that subscribe button, right? I would love it, and I'd appreciate it. So hit that subscribe button, leave those comments, hit the like button. And same thing for the people listening to the podcast version. You're downloading, but you could also follow. You could subscribe, depending, whatever service you're using, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, to make sure that they, automatically show up in your feed. And then you don't have to search for it every time. I know you're listening, so I see all the analytics in YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I don't see who's listening, but I see how many people are listening, and versus how many people are actually subscribed to the channel. or following the podcast. So I would love it if you guys did that. And then, on the podcast version as well, on Apple Podcasts, if you hit that 5-star rating and leave a written review, that helps the show grow, and I'd appreciate that as well. All right. So thank you so much for listening to the Seattle Sports Show, where we watch legends awaken. So take cover, because with a sea of sound, you will see us rise to reign supreme and win forever.